Hey, so we ended yesterday's lesson with a question. What can you do to help protect the ecosystem, to help protect your environment? Did you think of anything? Well, a couple of things we talked about in the lesson yesterday is we can conserve energy, we can conserve electricity, right? We can turn the lights off in a room when we're not using that room. When we're not in that room, turn the lights off when you leave a room. That saves some electricity, which is produced by burning non-renewable resources, right? You can turn the sink off when you're brushing your teeth and then turn it back on to everything rinse out of the sink there, save a little bit of water, protect our water, conserve our water. Definitely we can be careful about not polluting, can't we? We can make sure I did something when I was first got married and had our first house. I did something that I didn't know that was really a bad thing to do. I didn't do it on purpose to be a bad person. But back then, I used to change my own oil in my car. Cars are too fancy now. I can't change my own oil. But back then, I would change my own oil and I would pull up my car on some ramps and I would get under it and I would take the oil plug out and the oil filter out and get a big bucket and let all the oil drain into the bucket. And then I went and took that oil. Now, remember, I wasn't doing it because I was trying to be bad. I did it because I was naive. I didn't know I was polluting the environment. I took that oil and I walked it up to a field of trees behind my house and I just poured it out on the ground where nobody walks so nobody would get dirty walking through it. And I figured the rain would just wash it away. No big deal, right? Yeah, that's a big deal. I just put oil and pollution into the environment. That was a bad thing to do. I didn't do it to be mean. But there's laws about that. You're not supposed to do that. That's pollution. And so I know better now. I can't change my own oil now, but anyway, but I would never do that now that I know better. But sometimes we have to learn these things. And that's what this lesson yesterday and this lesson we're going to look at digitally today is about. How do we impact ecosystems? And so there's things we can do that helps protect the ecosystem. And if we're not careful, there's some things that we can do, like me dumping oil in the field that can hurt the ecosystem. And so let's pay attention to the lesson today. This is a digital lesson, so I'll let it do most of the talking again. And I'll shrink myself and get out of the way here so we can get started with this lesson. How do people impact ecosystems? Here we go.
There used to be an empty field by our house. All the neighborhood kids would play there. It was always a great place to find insects, lizards, and flowers. Now there is a store where the field used to be. It's nice to have the store when you need some bread, but we all miss the field. Click the hotspots to find out how the environment has changed. Then click Next when you're ready to explore how humans affect ecosystems. There was a rabbit that always made a nest in the same place in the field. I haven't seen the rabbit since the store was built. When the field was covered by the store, many animals lost their homes. Some animals, like this bird, may adapt to the new environment, but many animals will have to find a new place to live. When it rained before the store was built, the water would soak into the ground. Now when it rains, the water runs off the asphalt. It causes puddles near the road, which are fun to splash in, but the puddles also cause problems if they are too big. I was happy to see the store owners put out this recycling bin. Now when people drink from a water bottle, they can recycle the plastic bottle. Recycling is one way we can help the environment. Welcome to the lesson, How Do People Impact Ecosystems?, where you'll learn how humans affect the environment and how we can help protect the environment. The vocabulary words for this lesson are pollution, conservation, and endangered species. Click each word to find out more about it.
All right, we worked with those words yesterday, so we're going to move on.
Did you know that the average person in the United States throws away about 4.5 pounds of garbage each day? That adds up to a lot of garbage. It's just one of the ways that humans impact their environment. In this lesson, you will learn how we change our environment, how we use natural resources, and how we can work to protect the environment. A natural resource is a material that we collect from the environment to make the things we use every day, such as cars, furniture, clothes, and energy. We use different types of natural resources to meet our needs. Click the images to learn more about some important natural resources. All living things need water. Humans need fresh water to drink, cook food, and grow crops. We also use water to wash things, and we can even use moving water to generate electricity. We use water in so many ways that it is easy to forget how important water is for us and for so many other living things. Soil is a natural resource that people use to grow crops. As plants grow, they use nutrients in soil. Soil even has tiny organisms living in it that help plants grow. When we plant seeds for crops like corn or wheat, nutrients in the soil help the seedlings to grow into adult plants. We can harvest the adult plants for food. Fresh air is a natural resource that you use every time you breathe. Air contains the gas oxygen, which is used to keep your body working normally. Many other living things also need fresh air to live. Plants, like this corn, are a natural resource. What things have you eaten today that came from a plant? You've probably eaten many things that come from plants because all cereals, breads, vegetables, and fruits come from plants. We also use plants for wood and for making paper. Rocks and minerals are natural resources that we collect directly from Earth. Sometimes we must dig into the ground to find useful rocks and minerals, as you see being done in this mine. Rocks, such as iron ore and coal, can be processed and made into steel. We need steel to make large buildings and machinery. Fossil fuels, such as oil and coal, are natural resources that we collect and use for their energy. Oil can be processed to make gasoline, which we use in machines and cars as fuel. Coal can be burned to generate electricity. Both oil and coal must be removed from the environment. Oil is removed using oil pumps, and coal is collected from earth in coal mines. All of the foods we eat and the products we use come in some way from natural resources. Click play to see an example of how this happens. We use natural resources such as soil and water to grow plants. To grow a large number of plants as a crop, such as wheat or corn, soil must be prepared for seeds. This means that land has to be cleared to use the soil to grow crops. To grow crops in some areas, we need to pump large amounts of water, another natural resource, to where the plants are growing. To harvest the crops, we use large tractors that need fossil fuels to run. Now you can see that to plant, grow, and harvest crops, we need to use natural resources, including soil, water, and fossil fuels. After crops are harvested, more natural resources are used to process the crops into food. For example, in order to make bread, wheat is processed and mixed with water and other ingredients to make dough. Then the dough is baked in an oven that uses natural resources to make heat. As you have seen, the process of growing plants and making them into food uses a lot of natural resources. For you to eat a slice of bread, we need to use soil, water, and fossil fuel resources. You have seen some examples of natural resources. Click the images that show a natural resource.
All right. Trees are definitely a natural resource. They're part of nature.
Great! Trees are another natural resource.
A river, it's water. It's a natural resource.
Yes, water is a natural resource.
A mine. Well, we mine and get those minerals from the ground. I'm assuming they're meaning by this mine that they're digging for natural resources in the ground. I think.
Correct. Some natural resources are collected this way. Things that can be found in the environment, such as water, rocks, minerals, and plants, are all examples of natural resources.
Electronics are not, they're man-made. They're not found. You don't go grow an Xbox tree, do you? And pick an Xbox off a tree. No, they're not natural resources. Working a little slowly.
When we collect and use natural resources, we risk hurting the environment. Our activities can cause pollution or the introduction of harmful products into the air or water or onto the land. When we collect natural resources like rocks and minerals, and when we collect and use resources like fossil fuels, we change the environment. Click the different parts of the image to see how we affect the environment by collecting and using natural resources. Electricity is generated from burning fossil fuels. Using fossil fuels can pollute the air. That's why it's important to turn off lights and appliances when you're not using them. Turning them off helps reduce the amount of fossil fuels we need to burn to generate electricity. Lawns and gardens are another example of how we change our environment. Some of the plants we put in gardens can harm other naturally growing plants in the wild. We also use chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides on lawns and gardens. These chemicals can get into the ground and water, polluting the environment. Most cars use fossil fuels, such as gasoline, to get from place to place. However, burning gasoline puts pollution into the air we breathe. When we cover the ground with asphalt, we are changing the environment. Normally, these areas would be covered with soil and plants. By removing soil and plants and putting down asphalt, we make it difficult for the ground to absorb water when it rains. Areas where the ground is covered by asphalt can flood more easily. Moving plants and animals out of their habitats and introducing them in new areas can seriously affect the environment. Sometimes we introduce a new species of plant or animal on purpose, as when we plant flowers in a garden. Sometimes we introduce new species by accident. In either case, the introduced plant or animal can be an invasive part of the new environment. Click the images to see examples of invasive species. The tall purple flowers in this image are purple loosestrife. People who planted these flowers in their gardens thought that the flowers were a beautiful addition. Unfortunately, purple loosestrife is an invasive plant that spreads quickly and takes away space from native plants. In wetland areas where native species like cattails grow, purple loosestrife spreads very quickly. This makes it difficult for cattails and other organisms that depend on cattails to survive. The insect in this image is a glassy-winged sharpshooter, and it is an invasive insect. These insects were accidentally brought to California on plants that came from Asia. In the western United States, the insect is harmful because it carries a disease that damages plants. Some crops, such as grapes, have been severely damaged by the disease. This plant is Leafy Spurge. It was brought to the United States by accident in flower seed mixes. It is a small invasive plant that grows more quickly than native plants. Because it grows and spreads quickly, leafy spurge takes up space where native species usually grow. When this happens, we can say the invasive plant crowds out the native species of plants. The shells stuck to this boat's steering wheel are zebra mussels. They came to the United States on ships that visited other parts of the world. The zebra mussel competes with native species of clams for food and space. When zebra mussels attach themselves to hard surfaces like rocks, this takes away space that a native clam species could use. Zebra mussels also eat the same food as small fish do, so the mussels take away food from native fish species. This is a photo of a giant African snail. These snails were brought to the United States as pets in classrooms. Unfortunately, some were released into the wild. They have a huge appetite and can cause a lot of damage to plants. These plants are Eurasian milfoil. This aquatic plant was brought to the United States many years ago for people to put in fish aquariums. When people dumped out their fish tanks, the Eurasian milfoil got into freshwater environments such as ponds and lakes. Eurasian milfoil is invasive because it crowds out native species of aquatic plants. You know that humans change the environment in different ways. Now drag each description of how humans impact the environment to the image it matches.
All right. Well, this was kind of obvious, isn't it? This exhaust coming out of this car causes air pollution. All right. This purple plant, we just saw that in that invasive species thing we were looking at. It's not natural. It came from somewhere else. All right. Well, this is a parking lot, and it used to be an area where there was soil, so we're going to put that there. And looks like we've got some trash laying there, so land pollution.
Great work! Humans can change the environment by polluting land and air, introducing invasive species, and changing soil areas. Humans can help protect the environment. Conservation is a way to help the environment by protecting natural resources and protecting organisms in the environments where they live. Conservation helps keep the environment healthy for humans and all other living things. Click the images to learn more about conservation. We can buy products such as paper, plastic, and soaps in biodegradable forms. If a product is biodegradable, it means that the materials in that product can be broken down and taken up more easily by the environment. Things that are biodegradable do not pollute the environment as much as other products do. Using biodegradable products is one form of conservation. We can build a compost pile. Compost is a mix of organic waste that makes good fertilizer for soil. We can put things like uneaten fruits and vegetables, eggshells, coffee grounds, and dead leaves in a compost pile. Over time, the waste turns into a soil-like material that can be used in the garden. Compost helps the environment because we reuse garbage, and it helps keep the soil healthy. We can recycle metal, bottles, and paper products. Recycling helps the environment because it reduces how much garbage we make. And when we use recycled materials to make new products, we don't have to take so many natural resources from the environment. We can protect endangered species in their natural environments. An endangered species is any organism, plant, or animal whose entire population is very low. This means there may only be a few individuals of that species left in the world. To protect these species, we can make laws that make it illegal to kill them or remove them from the wild. But it is also important that we protect where endangered species live and the resources they need to survive. In the United States, we save special areas by making them into national parks. You might have heard of famous national parks like Yellowstone or Yosemite. Click play to learn more about national parks. Almost everything in a national park is protected, even the rocks and soil. These parks are made to keep the environment as natural as possible and keep human impact low. Most trees, shrubs, soil, rocks, and animals are kept in their natural state in national parks. Conservation helps protect natural resources. What are some ways you can help to conserve resources? Click your answers.
Could we leave the garden hose on all day? That might water the plant, but that would be a waste of water, wouldn't it? So that would not conserve water. Recycling, definitely.
That's right. Recycling means that we can reuse materials, reducing the need to find new resources.
Use biodegradable products, and that's a big word that just means they break down easily. Styrofoam and stuff like that, it'll stay styrofoam for years and just sit there and not break down. But some things break down easier and become part of the environment. It's in a way that doesn't harm the environment.
Good choice. Using biodegradable products returns materials to Earth, where they can be reused by nature.
And yes, turn off your lights when you don't need them. Conserves electricity.
Exactly. By turning the power off on non-essential electric devices like these, we use less power and, in turn, use less fuel to generate that electricity. You can help conserve natural resources by doing things like recycling, turning off lights when not in use, and using biodegradable products. Cleaning up your local park and composting are also ways you can help the environment. Many natural resources are required to make the simple products we use every day. This is also true for the food we eat. Explain how natural resources are used to make a healthy lunch. Type your answer in the box and then click OK.
All right, so let's take a look at this lunch here. How do we use natural resources to make this healthy lunch? Well, what do you see? Let's just start with the food we see. Okay, we use bread, so we have bread there, so we use plants to make bread. And then it looks like there's celery and carrot and an apple. We eat the fruit and vegetables from plants. It looks like there's cheese and milk there for sure. So we eat cheese and drink milk that comes from cows. What else do you see there? You got a plastic tray. That's not really natural, is it? But how about those cartons? Those are paper cartons of orange juice and milk. Oh, the orange juice, we forgot about that. We drink juice from fruit. And we use trees to make paper containers. What do you think? You see anything else that I left off? I don't know of anything else in that picture right there that I need to put. There's a plate. It's probably a glass plate, but it could be a stone plate. What do you think? We might use minerals to make a stone plate. No, just trying to come up with something there.
This nutrition-packed lunch has products from plants, such as wheat used to make bread, the shiny red apple, and bright green lettuce. Both the milk and cheese come from milk, a natural resource that comes from animals.
Yeah, we even added the paper cartons. I think we did better than this digital lesson.
You now know some ways that humans can negatively affect the environment and ways that humans can help the environment. Drag each image into the correct group.
All right, so this first picture is making that compost pile. Use it for soil or fertilizer for your gardens or your flower beds. That helps. All right, this guy is spraying some kind of maybe an insect killer or weed killer in his yard. That hurts when we spray chemicals. All right, here's a building. It looks like a road. That can negative impact. It causes pollution, takes away animals' habitats. We got to have them, though, don't we? Some things are necessary, but they still can harm the environment. Here's a turtle. I think it looks like maybe this turtle's been hurt or something. If maybe he's got some pollution on him. I can't really see the picture. I guess maybe he's got some pollution on him right there is what I'm going to guess. Let's see what it says. Oh, protect endangered species. That helps the environment. Good. I didn't see what it said. This one says pick up trash. That helps the environment. Recycle helps the environment. Overwater, using too much water, that's negative. That hurts the environment. And mine, we need some of those things, but it can hurt the environment.
Good job. As you can see, sometimes we negatively affect the environment with activities like mining, overwatering, and building roads in natural areas. But we also do things to help the environment, like recycling, making compost, and protecting endangered species. You've learned a lot about how humans affect the environment. Let's review the main ideas from the lesson. Every day, humans collect and use natural resources like water, fossil fuels, and plants to make the food and products we need. Humans change the environment. This happens when we collect natural resources and use these resources, such as when we burn fossil fuels for energy or process plants to make food. We do not just negatively affect the environment. We also help the environment. We do this by conserving natural resources in ways such as recycling, composting, saving fresh water, and protecting endangered species. Now that you've finished this lesson, if you wish, you can go back and review any part of the lesson again.
All right, guys, thank you for listening to the lesson today. We've learned a lot this week in science about natural resources. We've learned a lot this week about how we can protect our environment. We've learned a lot about how resources can be renewable, when we can replace them, like trees, or when we talked about how the wind and sun are renewable resources. We talked about non-renewable resources like soil and fossil fuels. So we've learned about all these things. And so as we keep going through this unit, we'll be learning more and more about natural resources and things that you and I do every day that affects the environment that we live in. Okay? Well, you don't have anything to turn in today. Thank you for being a good listener. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you back for science on Monday.